It's Thursday, December 8th, 2022. Your Day Weather Podcast brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com and also being brought to you by WYDOT. When there's ice and snow, take it slow. Don't forget to call 511 or go to wyoroad.info. As we take a look at what's coming our way, we've got a lot to talk about. First of all, we've got a couple of small systems that'll be producing some mountain snow today and into this evening. A few snow showers in the plains. We're going to have some strong winds across the I-80 corridor and other parts of the region. Another little system is going to be coming through late Friday. Again, kind of the same situation. Windy on the plains, a few snow showers, a better chance of snow up in the mountains. These are little systems, not being much, just kind of a couple of nuisances. But then we're going to continue to be on the lookout for this storm next week. I'm going to show you why our confidence level is pretty high that this indeed is going to be a major winter storm for the region. Its track, its exact path is still yet to be determined. There could be some fluctuations, but everything seems to be coming together that we will have a winter storm that's going to have very cold air with it, strong winds, blowing snow. There could be significant snow in some areas. And folks need to start considering that this is going to be a fairly good possibility as we get into late in the weekend in some areas of the far west, then into the Rockies and High Plains in the Monday through Wednesday timeframe. This storm could hang on into Thursday in some areas. Now, the states listed are going to have the highest impacts. We'll see maybe a good chunk of Colorado possibly spared from the worst of the storm, but a large part, if not all of Wyoming, eastern Montana, all of the Dakotas, and a large part of Nebraska. If you're livestock interests in those areas, pay very close attention to this developing storm system. Now, let's get to some fun stuff. We've had some astronomical things going on with a lot of folks having some snow on the ground in some areas and the full moon out. We have got some great shots at night across the region. Look at that shot there out of Estes Park along the Continental Divide. That's just the moonshine lighting up the divide there. Just a beautiful shot. But also going on was the fact that there was a lunar occultation of Mars last night, where Mars, which is very close to Earth right now, got close to the moon, an occultation. And here's a great shot from Thane through a telescope. It's even more impressive. Matt Edwards up in the Northern Bighorns getting a great shot out of his telescope there. You can see the redness of Mars right there, going right there by the moon. Thanks, Matt, that's just a fabulous shot. Sky watchers really getting treats this week, whether it was the Kelvin Helmholtz wave clouds over the Bighorn Mountains, and now this. Really, we live in a great part of the country to see some really wonderful things if you decide to look up. Let's take a look at what's going on weather-wise. Here is the little low that's going through today. We talked about this low yesterday producing some snow along this path here later today, tonight, and tomorrow, and that's certainly going to be the case. Here's our problem child that's going to be coming our way as we get into the latter portions of the weekend and into early next week with a pocket of cold, moist air up in the eastern areas of the Gulf of Alaska with the blocking highs still in Greenland and the blocking high there still in the eastern Pacific. So the table is set. Also, this high in the southeastern United States as well is an important factor because all of the energy with that low is going to want to get directed into the Great Basin and Rockies because it's going to run into the high here, and we have the bookend areas of the high pressure systems right there. By tomorrow morning, that low heads into Iowa. This little guy right here will produce more wind on the plains, more snow showers in the mountains, late Friday night, and into Saturday morning. And this is through Saturday morning. Here you can see the Midwest rain and snow. Here in the Pacific Northwest and the Rockies, you can see that these systems are going to produce some snow showers on the plains and some snow again up into the high country. And there you can see where the snowfall is going to be through Saturday morning. Taking a look further out, this is going to be the storm system for early next week. By Monday morning, all of that cold, moist energy up here dives out of the eastern areas of the Gulf of Alaska and British Columbia and heads to the Great Basin. When these cold, moist lows get thrown into the Great Basin, especially towards the Four Corners, That's when these storms start to take a track far enough south that upslope becomes a bigger situation, and the storms are going to take a path further south than what they've been doing lately. So we have the low dipping down into eastern areas of the Great Basin, and that is going to start to bring in some very cold air here on the backside. Very warm air is going to get pushed out ahead of the system into the plain states in the Midwest. And what we have is a volatile situation. Warmer air up coming here, colder air coming on back, a very strong jet stream coming in on the backside of it. Then we have the lee side low form on the eastern side of the Continental Divide. Now this is during the overnight hours of Monday with a low somewhere in the vicinity of Lyman to Burlington, Colorado. We'll see. It's going to fluctuate in terms of path, but this map looks very similar to what I showed you yesterday. You're going to have a severe weather outbreak here in the collision of air masses in parts of the south central areas of the United States. You're going to have severe thunderstorms, possible tornado activity, and then on the cold side of the storm, you're going to see some developing moderate to heavy snows up into this area right here as we get into late Monday night, and into Tuesday. Then by Wednesday, so let's back up. This is Monday night. This is all the way into Tuesday morning, rather Wednesday morning. So you can see it's not moving very fast. And as we showed you yesterday, it's getting disconnected, cut off from the main flow. And you notice all the black lines here. That is showing that the low pressure system, the storm system, is intensifying. See how it's better put together right there? And this is the end result where the heavier precipitation is going to be. And the heavier precipitation with this storm is right here. Now, as it's forecasted right now. Again, I'm showing you something that's several days out. So expect these maps to change. Don't take this as gospel yet. But you can see where the blue colors, the yellow colors, and the orange colors are showing you where the heavier precipitation is going to be as the storm winds up. So you can see the Dakotas, eastern Montana, large part of Wyoming, large part of Nebraska, then getting into far northern Colorado here are the areas to where you're going to be getting the highest probability of the heavier snowfall. And if you look at the swath that this storm could produce as it moves across is quite impressive. You can see the axis of heavy snow right here as it comes on by. So this is going to cover a lot of real estate. And then that low is probably going to cause problems into the Great Lakes in northeastern United States once it moves out of the central part of the United States. The cold air, the Arctic air, comes in on the backside of it. This is by noon Tuesday. So, and then you can see the warm air beginning pushed out ahead of it. This is like gas and matches here. When you bring the strong jet stream wind over the divide, you get the lee side cyclogenesis, the forming of the low. You've got the warm and the cold working together. It's very combustible weather-wise when you put all this together. Hence the severe weather in the south central United States and the winter storm conditions in the Rockies and the northern plains. Now let's compare the models. We always talk about, well, do the models agree? And when the models don't agree, your confidence level certainly goes lower. When there's larger agreement, especially when you're 4 to 5 days out, which is where we are, your confidence level really goes up. So let's look at 3 major model suites that we look at daily. The European model, this is the European model, this is the Canadian model, and this is the US model. Notice the placement of the major features is nearly identical. They're not perfectly exactly the same. That is never the case. But when you see this type of situation, your confidence levels are going to grow, that indeed we have all the right ingredients. Also, the larger the storm, the bigger its scope and latitude and longitude, generally speaking, the models are going to handle a little bit better. The bigger the target, so to speak, the better they're going to resolve the situation. So our confidence level is growing, and this is why we want to strongly urge livestock interest in eastern Montana, all of Wyoming, all of the Dakotas, and a good chunk of Nebraska and northern Colorado to be ready for this storm. Look at the wind swath. This wind pattern right here on the backside of the storm, this is for Wednesday morning. The storm wraps up really strongly Tuesday night into Wednesday, but we could have a persistent northwest wind into northeastern Wyoming, the western Dakotas, western Nebraska, a very persistent, strong northwest wind for several days, 2 or 3 days, leading to some really cold wind chills, blowing and drifting of snow, and just very harsh winter conditions. So livestock interest, a prevailing northwest wind on the backside of the storm, starting at first as a northeast wind and swinging around to a northwest wind. So lots on the table. We'll have more for you tomorrow. Have a good Thursday.